LSU is quarterback hunting in the portal, but which quarterbacks are they hunting? We've got the answers locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get great podcasts. Of course, on YouTube as well, so please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. So Happy New Year. Certainly not the first, but let me be the latest to wish you and yours a wonderful 2026. Happy, healthy, safe, blessed, all of it. And we're glad that you're here with us as we record this on New Year's Day, just hours from the transfer portal window opening. And we are expecting this to be an explosive portal period for LSU. But before the portal period opened, I wanted to share a little bit of insight, what I've been able to gather in the recent days and weeks about what specifically LSU is targeting at the most important position in organized team sports, quarterback. So this episode is going to be dedicated specifically to the quarterbacks that I've been told LSU has interest in, to give you a little bit of a groundwork for what LSU is proceeding to do. Now, I think it is important before I go any further, and I'm going to give you names you know, and I'm going to give you two names that are new names to watch that I've been told LSU might have interest in. But before I get into the names, I want to first lay out what the expectation is. Realistically understanding that LSU has one scholarship quarterback in Michael Van Buren, who has expressed interest in staying, which LSU would be open to. Now, Lane Kiffin and his staff are going to go sign an experienced quarterback that will be a starter, that will come in with the expectation of starting at LSU in 2026. Is two scholarship quarterbacks enough? Probably not. So they will probably be targeting a starter and someone who could give them depth at the position. Remember, you've lost Juwan Johnson, you've lost Colin Hurley, Nussmeier's out of eligibility. You haven't signed a high school quarterback in either of the last two classes. So even if Van Buren stays, you probably got to go get two scholarship quarterbacks in this portal class, a starter and someone who's coming in with being a backup in mind. So the other thing that I think is important to note, two things, is one, you have to talk to everybody. You can have your target in mind, but you got to think of this almost in terms of the NFL draft. You may not have the opportunity to get everyone. And because this is sort of a very fluid situation with circumstances out of your control, you've got to go have a scouting report and an idea of everyone, how much they want, what their expectations are of playing time, how they may fit your system. So if one option isn't there and you have to quickly pivot to another, you're ready to go. The other thing that is clearly very important here is going to be fit within Lane Kiffin's offense and also timing. Remember, and the most critical component of this is going to be Trinidad Chamblas, because let's start there. Okay. Because as I explain the Chambliss situation, it'll explain everything I just said and how the dominoes may fall. I don't think this is any type of great breaking news that Trinidad Chamblas will be the top quarterback target for LSU. Provided he gets another year of eligibility and goes into the transfer portal. I'll remind you that Trinidad Chamblas, before the first round of the college football playoff, the game against Tulane, he was asked about his plans if he gets an extra year of eligibility, if he would be at Ole Miss, or if he would consider all options. Remember, this is Trinidad Chamblas before the Tulane game.
I would have to consider what the best situation is for me, what I feel most comfortable with, who I trust the most, and just get a feel for every possibility, really. So there's a lot that goes into that.
So that's a guy who could have said, if I get an extra year, I'll be back at Ole Miss. Didn't. That tells you he's considering all possibilities. He was recruited by Charlie Weiss, Lane Kiffin, played under Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin. Those two guys are going to be at LSU. What I have been told is that the offer for Trinidad Chamblas at LSU, provided he gets another year of eligibility, will be close to $4 million. And I am just as comfortable as I've told you about Kawan Lacey having a $1.8 million offer from Ole Miss and LSU having to go north of that. I'm comfortable in telling you this number as well, that if Trinidad Chamblas gets an extra year, decides to go into the transfer portal, the offer from LSU would be close to $4 million. Now, you can say, how could you possibly know that? That's tampering. It's worth noting this again. This is a legal tampering period. That's not how it's phrased, but that's what it is in the NFL, and there's no other way to say it. I'm not sitting here telling you Lane Kiffin is talking to Trinidad Chamblas. As a matter of fact, at his media availability for the Sugar Bowl, Chambliss was asked about that and said, no, that's not allowed. Clearly, they're not having those conversations. But by now, I think it's important that we all understand how this is being done. Every player, every athlete has an agent, a rep, a family member, somebody who can have those conversations about deals and offers and opportunities that would be out there so that they can make the decision. Why? Someone asked the question, why do we keep seeing all these players declaring their intention to enter the portal? Because what that is doing is effectively, it's a banner to the college football world saying, hey, let me know if you're interested. And then when the portal window opens at midnight on January the 2nd, they'll formally put their name in. And in many cases, deals will already be done. But effectively, it's a negotiation period with agents and schools. So that's my understanding. And it's also my understanding that Ole Miss is not going to be willing to spend that amount of money to keep Trinidad Chamblas there. They are instead focusing their efforts on retaining Austin Simmons. I've told you that now for a couple of weeks, or at least since last week. So Chambliss would be LSU's primary target, but he's got to get the extra year of eligibility first. If you're not familiar with Chambliss, he started his career at Ferris State, which is Division II school. He played as a freshman. In his second season at Ferris State, he took a red shirt. So he did not play that second year. That was his red shirt year. Well, after that red shirt year at Ferris State, he played another 2 seasons, then transferred to Ole Miss this year. So this is his 5th year in school, but his 4th year playing, and he took a red shirt year already. What Chambliss is appealing to the NCAA is that he missed that year at Ferris State in 2023 due to a medical situation. Now, there was a report that sort of chronicled that. The NCAA has not been quick to award the waiver. It was initially questioned whether or not Chambliss would pursue legal matters. He has since retained attorney Tom Mars, who has had a lot of dealings representing coaches and players against the NCAA, which tells you Chambliss is going to go to court to get an extra year. But this is why the timing is interesting. We can all agree Chambliss will be the top target. And it makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, he was an all-conference caliber player this year at Ole Miss in the SEC, has them in the college football playoff. There would be absolutely no bridge or learning curve. He'd be stepping right into the same offense, same coaches, same terminology in the same league. And he'd be playing at 24 years old. Chambliss, as of today, is 23. So you're talking about a guy in his 6th year if he gets it. The reason the timing is going to be so important is because if the NCAA doesn't grant Chambliss the waiver and other quarterbacks start committing to other schools because they have a bird in hand, do you end up on the game of musical chairs without a seat? So that's going to be the critical balancing act here with Chambliss. It's, do you feel like he's going to get that year of eligibility? And if the answer is yes, and he's your guy, then you move forward. But if not, if you're not certain that he's going to be eligible to play, you can't miss out on the other quarterback portal targets that are out there. So that's why all of the due diligence LSU is doing right now on all of these quarterbacks is so important. So I would tell you there are 4 names you have heard, and then 2 that are new. Chambliss is one, and this is no particular order, by the way. The other I'll tell you is Brendan Sorsby. Now, Sorsby has been the starting quarterback for the last 2 years at Cincinnati. He started his career for 2 seasons at Indiana. He redshirted in 2022, and then in 23, he played in 10 games with 7 starts, threw for just under 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks, and then he transferred to Cincinnati. Well, over the last 2 years at Cincinnati, he's been really good for the Cincinnati Bearcats. He started all 24 games in which he's played the last 2 years. In 2024, he threw for 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks. This year, 2,800 yards, on the number, by the way, 27 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he increased his touchdown total by 9 and decreased his interceptions by 2. So again, this would be a guy with 1 season of eligibility remaining going into his 5th year of college. Now there's a lot of people who would assume a guy like Sorsby could end up at one of the Midwestern schools who might be searching for a quarterback, namely back at Indiana after Fernando Mendoza just won the Heisman, goes off to the NFL. Could Sorsby go back to the place where he started his career? Maybe, but that's one worth watching that LSU has on the board. Another they have on the board that's a very obvious one is Sam Leavitt. So Sam Leavitt, if you're not familiar, started his career at Michigan State. He was there for a year. He was the Gatorade Oregon Football Player of the Year. He goes to Michigan State, plays in 4 games as a true freshman. And then after those 4 games as a true freshman, he transfers to Arizona State, where he's been the starter for the last 2 seasons. So in 2024, Sam Leavitt started all 13 games, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was awesome, leading Arizona State to the Big 12 championship and the college football playoff. This year, injury limited him to just 7 games. But in those 7 games, the statistics were comparable. He averaged 232 yards a game, 10 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, and threw for 1,600 yards. So a good season for Sam Leavitt, but in a limited capacity because injury limited him to just 7 games. So Chambliss, Sorsby, Leavitt, DJ Lagway is another that I've talked about that I know that LSU's camp has been in touch with DJ Lagway's camp. And I know that for DJ Lagway, there's a lot of LSU fans that are going to roll their eyes because turnovers have been a problem for Lagway during his time at Florida. This year, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. A year ago, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That is objectively true. The interceptions have been a problem for DJ Lagway during his time at Florida. He has also played injured during his time at Florida. So, and this was just an awful year for him. He comes back as a sophomore, of course, helped Billy Napier save his job at the end of the 2024 season. And there was so much expectation. Well, remember, in spring, he has surgery and misses all of spring ball. He has a shoulder injury that had lingered from, it was a baseball injury in high school that limited him, and he did not participate in spring. Then he injures his calf and doesn't actually start practicing until like 10 days before the season opener this year. So you had a guy that's basically played injured his entire time at Florida, and also this year played close to 250 pounds. He's listed at 247. I know there are people in Lagway's camp that would prefer him to be closer to like 230, 225, 230. A little more mobile, carry the weight a little bit better. And the thought is, when you have this physical freak, if he's 100% healthy in the right system with Kiffin and Charlie Weiss, already with 2 years of SEC experience and the great physical ability, you're betting on the upside there with DJ Lagway. And Lord knows there is plenty of upside with Lagway, which is why he was a 5-star and the number 1 quarterback in the country, despite the fact that the injuries and system and circumstance have limited him there at Florida. So that's another one worth keeping an eye on. Lagway is from the Houston area, so there's been a lot of talk from his camp that they want him out of the SEC. That's why Baylor has been a commonly mentioned landing spot for DJ Lagway. Now, I told you there's 2 other names you probably haven't heard yet that are starting to be whispered about that could be fail-proof or backup plans for LSU. And I'll mention those to you as we continue here, Locked on LSU, your team every day. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. It's Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. It's become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. The timing is perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We're also brought to you by Game Time. And of course, there's nothing like college football season. Tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. So if you want to watch the college football playoff all the way to the Natty, what a better way to get your tickets than at Game Time. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what seat you're getting, and all of the prices include fees up front. So it makes the whole process stress-free. You don't have to think you're paying a certain price, and when you get to checkout, there's fees and it jumps. Nope. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Be sure to download the Game Time app today. There are two more sort of wild card quarterbacks I want to mention, and these are names that I have heard associated with potential targets for LSU. One of them is in the portal as of New Year's Day. The other is not, or has expressed intention to be. And again, I want to remind you that the way that things happen now, it's all through agents and family members and runners or representatives, however you want to say it. So the first name I'm going to give you is a name that's not, as of now, declared his intention to be in the portal, but there's a lot of smoke around this name. And it's Damon Williams Jr. from Washington. Now, Damon Williams, when he was coming out of Chandler, Arizona, was a big-time high school recruit. He was the number, I'm looking at the On3 composite. He was the number 101 overall prospect and the 19th best quarterback when he signed with Washington. So he's been there in Seattle for 2 seasons now with the Huskies. In his first year in 2024 with Washington, he had limited playing time. He played in 13 games, but he attempted just 83 passes. This year in 2025, forgive me. Those were his rushing stats. Forgive me. In 2024, he threw for 944 yards and 8 touchdowns in limited playing time, but did play in all 13 games. This year, as the primary starter in all 13 games, he threw for 3,065 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. So obviously a big step up in playing time, productivity. He also ran for 611 yards and 6 touchdowns as a sophomore. So again, split time as a freshman, primary starter here as a sophomore, big spike in productivity. He is 5'11", 190. So you're talking about a smaller guy, but it's fair to mention Trinidad Chamblas is also a smaller quarterback, and Lane Kiffin made it work this year with him at Ole Miss, and he's still LSU's primary target. So Damon Williams, again, not in the portal yet, but a guy who LSU, I'm told, does like and someone they could be interested in. The other is a name that on New Year's Day we learned is going in the portal, and that's Lincoln Kienholz. So Lincoln Kienholz is actually from South Dakota, 6'2". He's a 214. He's a junior at Ohio State. Now, Ohio State lost in the college football playoff quarterfinal game at the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve. On New Year's Day, less than 24 hours later, Lincoln Kienholz announced his intention to go in the transfer portal. So Kienholz just finished his 3rd year at Ohio State. He was, as a recruit, when he signed with Ohio State out of Pierre, South Dakota, in the composite, number 205 nationally, the 15th best quarterback. He ranked as high as the 6th best quarterback in the country, according to Rivals. So you're talking about a guy that was a big enough prospect that he got a scholarship offer and signed with Ohio State. And the last 2 years at Ohio State, he was a backup to transfers. A year ago, of course, it was Will Howard, and Ohio State won the national championship. Well, going into this season, Kienholz was battling for the job with Julian Sayin, the Alabama transfer. We know what happened. Sayin beat him out. Sayin's likely to return next season to Ohio State as well. So Kienholz is hitting the transfer portal looking for a place to start. This is one of those longer shots. a player that I'm told the coaching staff at LSU does like a lot. Lane Kiffin likes a lot, but a guy that in his career has only appeared in 10 games, and he's got 17 career passing attempts. No, forgive me, those were he's got 36 career passing attempts. Those were his rushing stats. So in his career, across 2 seasons of playing, he played 3 games in 23, did not see action in 2024, and then this year in 2025, played in 7 games, 11 of 14 for 139 yards, a touchdown, did not throw an interception. So again, you're talking about very limited on-field experience playing time. Same could be said for Julian Sayin, who didn't play at Alabama, transfers to Ohio State, and this year led Ohio State to the college football playoff. So those are the names that I am confident in telling you LSU is interested in. They've either made contact with representatives for those players or would have interest. It all starts, though, with Trinidad Chamblas. What happens with Chambliss? Does he get his waiver? Is he eligible to play in 2026? And if he does he end up in Baton Rouge? I'm going to tell you, he has a very large NIL opportunity on the table, coupling NIL rev share at LSU, one that I'm told, again, Ole Miss is not willing to match. Not at that number as LSU pushes a deal close to $4 million for Trinidad Chamblas if he is eligible to play in 2026. If not Chambliss, then you're battling a lot of other quarterback needy teams for the likes of Sorsby, Leavitt, Lagway, maybe to a lesser degree, Damon Williams, and Lincoln Kineholz would be maybe the longer shots. But those are the 6 names that I've heard associated with LSU as they target transfer portal quarterbacks, with the portal set to open at midnight on January the 2nd. By the way, it's midnight Eastern, January 2nd. It's 11 p.m. Central on New Year's Day. So actually about the time the Sugar Bowl is wrapping up with Ole Miss and Georgia, LSU could be working the phones already, crank it up for the opening of the transfer portal. Okay, as the portal madness unfolds, we'll be here for it all the way throughout. So if you're not yet, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked on LSU. It's your team every day.